Hey, I'm Nate Wetchen. I'm an illustrator and graphic designer at FNBO. We're going to do some drawing tips today. The biggest tip to start out is just do it. Whether you've got, a napkin at a restaurant or some notebook paper. I just grabbed some printer paper. I've got my sketchbook here, but I honestly kind of like drawing on regular paper because of the ease with which you can just take a photo with your phone of it with some good lighting and then transfer it digitally. But you can just use a ballpoint pen, or when I'm sketching, when I don't have when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to draw or how I'm going to draw it exactly, I like to start with just like a blue or whatever colored pencil that I can do a light sketch, and then I'll go back in with a pencil and get some of the detailed lines in. And full disclosure, I stole this from my kids. You got to make do with what you got at your disposal. So what we're going to do today is, since want to get something fun and lighthearted, so we're going to do a sketch of Penny the pig. And basically, Penny the pig is our mascot, our financial mascot for a piggy bank. And we've developed her over the past couple years, and she's basically a big circle / ellipse. So just kind of making, your real light, loose lines. And they don't have to be perfect. You just kind of correct as you go. Then we're going to add her feet, which are again just some basic, almost like an egg shape. And you can see, you make an egg right here, and then you imagine a flatter part of the foot. And what we're going to do eventually, you'll see here in a bit, we'll kind of imagine where it intersects with the body, and when we go in with the pencil, we'll just do a portion of this and not the whole thing. So do front feet here, and again we've got kind of our egg shape with a little, slightly flat bottom. And then we'll just put that just curved edge there to indicate that flat part of the foot. And on the back side, just some curves for the other feet. I don't know I guess hooves on a pig, right? Alright, so next we'll do the nose, which is kind of a cylinder. So you can imagine if you start, we're just going to do kind of this would be where the snout would kind of protrude from the body. So then if we imagine a cylinder, it's going to come out, and then we make the end of that cylinder. And when we go back, we'll kind of curve it to make it look more organic. And for now, just those light lines. Get the nostrils there. Then for the mouth, just a little edge of the mouth there to indicate some emotion. And then the bottom of the mouth. And the tongue inside. And for the eyes, again, we'll do kind of like a half ellipse. And then kind of a reverse curve at the bottom of that. On the other side, just a little indicator, kind of like a perspective of the eye. So it's that half circle. We won't really show a whole lot. And then the eye itself. just kind of making the location, the outlines of each of the shapes here. And we'll darken it with the pencil. Of course, we're going to have some happy eyebrows. We'll get those ears in there. This is more of basically another half ellipse with a little curve in there. And then same thing, except we won't do the curve since this is the outer portion of the ear. And then the little piggy bank slot up here. And that little line in there will indicate that it'll give that three-dimensional concave portion of the shape that it's going down into the little piggy bank. And then the curly tail. This one, this is a little, you really have to envision it and do some practice to get, and definitely find some references for this sort of thing. So with this, we just got one curve, and you can imagine it going round and round and round. And then just kind of like an outline of that, imagining where the what you can see and what you don't see when you draw that stuff. So there's our sketch, and let's go back in with the pencil. I like to use, I really don't care, I like using a 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil, but typically I go through these and I lose them so much that I just use whatever is around, and whenever I buy anything, that's what I buy. But this fortunately was laying around, so I'm not making a whole lot of like long straight strokes, just kind of being much more accurate with my lines compared to the colored pencil, turning the paper a lot. And you can see here, so we've got that pencil sketch there. I don't honestly know, and yeah, my eraser's dirty, so it left a mark. Shame on me. And again, I don't typically care about that because at least my current practice, I always just take a photo of this and take it into Adobe Illustrator, and then get my real clean, crisp lines in there. And I think one of the difficult parts about drawing can be just figuring out what you want to draw. Sometimes I feel like I shouldn't just draw stuff that is already created. I feel a lot of pressure on myself to create something original. And I find myself, I don't typically draw a whole lot anymore. At least with pencil, I do a lot of projects and everything for work. I do a lot on the Cintiq and Adobe Illustrator, and as well as Photoshop. I think there's several different applications that are great. And there's free ones that you can get for an iPad or a tablet that are great. I have not used. I think it's called, I forget the name of the one for the free one. But I've heard and seen a lot of artists who do great work with it. And, it's really just finding whatever you can that is going to get you to draw, and then choosing the things that you love to do, setting goals to draw every day. And I definitely recently have been. I'm working on a kid's book. I also do a lot of illustrating at FNBO, and it is definitely fulfilling and it is enjoyable. So you just gotta do it. And having kids makes it easy because they love to draw themselves, and I'll end up drawing a lot of stuff for them at their request. So eyes are a whole different beast. We'll maybe do a detailed one on just eyes. But basically, especially for like just getting kind of the reflections down. If you look at cartoons or like especially anime, they have very stylized methods of making eyes shimmer with even just white. If you just envision them as white circles, it makes them look just like right there. Just makes them not feel so beady. They can sometimes be a little, yeah, I think beady would be the best term. And just making sure I typically stick with about half or a third of the diameter of the full dilated pupil. So there's our main outlines, and now what we'll do is kind of come in here and just do some shading. This is kind of more of a comic book style of shading, like a cross hatch, except not just a hatch marks almost. You can get much more detailed if you use ink or go in digitally. But this takes a little more practice. You gotta imagine where our light source would be up here. So our shadows would be over on the left. So if you envision a light source, well, let's do a little demo right here. Our light source, this little ball right here, or make it, there's our light. We have a sphere right here. Typically, you're going to get kind of, if you envision a reflection of the light is going to, as this comes, it's going to reflect toward you, the viewer. And if you imagine it's on a surface, we've got our shadows, and then we have our shadows on the surface of the sphere itself, and then we have our shadow on the surface the ball or the sphere is sitting on. But then the interesting thing is that on the ball or the sphere itself, you'll get a reflection of the surface that it's sitting on the ball as well. So if you have some sort of ball sitting around, just kind of observe that. Again, that's part of drawing, is observing the environment you're in, and looking how light and color affects everything, and then imagining that in your head, figuring out how you translate that to paper or screen, and then just lots of practice. This is on just an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, but I definitely encourage you to try doing big movements. Maybe go get some, like one great thing to do is jump outside with some sidewalk chalk and just go to town drawing and decorating your driveway or sidewalk or wherever you are, and make some cool artwork. And this method right here is called cross-hatching. Basically, just making little strokes everywhere. And then in areas where it needs to be darker, go in the opposite direction. So we see, again, just like the sphere on the surface, we got some areas where if you imagine light coming down, it's going to create shadows. And you can just use your imagination. It doesn't have to be exact, it's a drawing. You just keep working through everything, going through and thinking about where those shadows might be. And here, when we get to the main part of the body, this is where practicing those bigger strokes is helpful. And there might even be like another light up here, so there might be some slight shadows or not so strong. Just getting used to the amount of lead or graphite the pencil puts down in relation to how hard you press. You'll get used to it after some practice. But I think we're going to finish this up. I'd love to hear comments on if you have any suggestions or requests on what you might like to see me draw. Maybe we'll do another one here, and if you're finding some extra time as you are home maybe get the kids and sit down and draw with them and just do something together. This is, many of us are finding ourselves at home, and if you're looking for something to do, drawing is a great way to improve your skills, get a different perspective on the things we look at, and have some fun. And then always, obviously, sign your work. All right, so that is all we're going to do today. If you have questions or comments, leave them below, and I'd love to hear from y'all. And thanks for checking out First National Bank, FNBO. All right, that wraps it up. Thanks for joining me today. Be sure to follow FNBO, and you can find me online at Nate Wetchin Art on Instagram, and hope to see you again.